Though the horror genre is one often associated with major twists and shocking reveals, it's also a genre famed for its Easter eggs and extreme attention to detail. And at times, those Easter eggs and attention to detail fly totally under the radar, even to the most seasoned of horror hounds. And that's what our focus is on today. So with that in mind, I'm Andrew from What Culture Horror, and here are 10 horror movie secrets we all missed, even me. Number 10. The opening song contains a secret warning message. Get Out. Jordan Peele's Oscar-winning horror satire Get Out is absolutely jam-packed with ingenious Easter eggs and references, but one of the most easily missed secrets occurs in the first 2 minutes of the movie. The opening titles are backed by a distinctive piece of music being sung in Swahili, entitled Sikilisa. The song's lyrics translate as, "Brother, listen to the ancestors. Run. You need to run far. Listen to the truth. Brother, listen to the ancestors. Run. Run to save yourself. Listen to the ancestors." Pretty clear what they're getting at there. Obviously, these lyrics dovetail perfectly into the themes of Get Out, with protagonist Chris on the run from crazy white people who wish to hijack his body for their own nefarious means. Number 9. The Hidden Dancing Boy, Insidious. One of the most memorably creepy moments in the first Insidious movie occurs when Renee encounters the spirit of a young boy, dancing and running around her house, backed by Tiny Tim's sublimely disturbing Tiptoe Through the Tulips. But it gets even eerier if you're attentive enough to spot an added secret hiding there in plain sight. You see, before Renee actually comes across the boy, he can be briefly seen standing facing the wall as she puts clothes in a laundry basket. Our attention is supposed to be focused on the laundry basket, and to the casual observer, the boy just looks like a jacket hanging on the coat rack. But instead, we've got one of the most horrifying, unsettling moments of the entire Insidious franchise. Number 8. Nobody eats potato chips in the apocalypse. A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place transpires on a post-apocalyptic Earth where humanity is being picked off by a race of savage extraterrestrial monsters that hunt via sound. As a result, mankind's survivors have to adjust their behavior, using American Sign Language, walking barefoot, and just generally trying to make as little noise as possible. A Quiet Place features extremely clever environmental storytelling in place of heavy exposition, though you may well have missed one magnificent detail. In an early scene, we see the Abbott family search for supplies in a supermarket, and eagle-eyed viewers might notice the shelves containing potato chips are still fully stocked, despite the bulk of the other shelves being completely bare. What's the reasoning for this? Of course, potato chips make a bunch of noise, whether that's opening the bag or eating them, meaning these crunchy little delights are the last thing you want to eat in a world built around making as little sound as possible. But once you pop, you can't stop. Number 7. Father Karras' mother is briefly visible before he kills himself. The Exorcist. One of the most iconic scenes in horror movie history is undoubtedly Father Karras' sacrificial death at the end of The Exorcist, hurling himself out of a window after being possessed by the demonic spirit Pazuzu. It's often said that William Friedkin's genre masterpiece is filled with subliminal imagery intended to keep viewers off kilter, from the subtle inclusion of buzzing bees in the soundtrack to evoke primal unease, to brief flashes of Pazuzu's ghoulish face. But there's another altogether sneakier secret mere moments before Karras takes his fatal plunge. As Pazuzu's possession begins to take hold, Karras looks up at the room's window, where the faintest glimpse of his dead mother's face can be seen. Given that Karras is haunted by his mother's death throughout the film, it's fitting that he sees her face in his final moments, slyly foreshadowing the sacrifice he's about to make. Number 6. Peter's friend was a cult member. Hereditary. Ari Aster's masterful Hereditary is one of the most unforgettable horror movies of the past decade, and it's also a densely layered film packed with hidden narrative hints that make repeat viewings well worth your time. While it's now well known that the cult members who descend upon the Graham family in the third act are actually hidden in plain sight throughout the movie, there's one secret interloper everybody missed. In a seemingly inconsequential mid-film scene, Peter hangs out with his school friends underneath the bleachers. There's not much going on here, and we're not primed to pay all that much attention. But in Hereditary's finale, one of Peter's buddies is subtly revealed as a cult member. Actor Gabriel Monroe Eckert, credited as Stoner Number 2, is present as one of the naked cultists, confirming the cult was manipulating every possible aspect of Peter's life, setting him up to be eventually possessed by Paimon. Number 5. Billy's death gets foreshadowed. Final Destination. It's apt that a movie with a central plot device about the foreshadowing of death does itself contain some sneaky foreshadowing, and one of the most memorable death scenes in the original Final Destination is the brutal decapitation of obnoxious goofball Billy, as played by Sean William Scott, whose head is improbably parted from his body after a train catapults a hunk of metal at him. But the nature of Billy's demise was subtly hinted at the start of the movie, shortly after Alex had his premonition of the plane explosion. Mere seconds before the plane explodes in a fireball, we see Billy watching the plane take off, with the aircraft visible in the window's reflection as it cuts across Billy's head, almost exactly mirroring the cut that the metal later takes for Billy's death. Number 4. The main characters' names spell out demon. Evil Dead 2013. Fede Alvarez's surprisingly sturdy Evil Dead reboot boasts a cheeky round of wordplay hidden within the names of its 5 central characters. If you take the first letter from each of the leads, David, Eric, Mia, Olivia, and Natalie, the word demon is spelled out. Given that the movie is of course focused on those characters inadvertently summoning a terrifying demon to their cabin hideaway, it seems as though their future was quite literally spelled out long before they ever decided to read from the Necronomicon. Number 3. The Naked Man is Jay's grandfather. It Follows. It Follows is such a unique, original beast, focusing on poor Jay as she's stalked by a supernatural entity that can only be passed on through sex. We've all been there. The film's filled with plenty of intense, jarring imagery as Jay finds herself approached by this shape-shifting evil in the guise of various people. And while it's well known that the entity takes the form of Jay's father for the final standoff at the swimming pool, that's not the only member of Jay's family it imitates. Remember the naked old man standing on top of the house earlier in the film? Well, if you pay close attention, you'll recognize him as Jay's grandfather, who can briefly be spotted in a family portrait earlier on in the movie. And now, from one STD allegory horror movie to another. Number 2. An STD poster confirms the film's central conflict, The Thing. One of the most memorable parts of John Carpenter's iconic The Thing is the blood test sequence in which MacReady tests blood samples of the remaining crew in the hope of deducing who's been assimilated by the alien beast. Academics have often cited this scene, and the movie in general to be frank, as an allegory for the AIDS and HIV epidemic of the 1980s, focuses on a group of men paranoid about who may or may not be infected with a deadly disease. If you watch closely, there's actually a nod to this trail of thought, as behind MacReady's head is a poster that reads, "They aren't labelled, chum." Given that the poster is clearly about STDs, the woman is after all holding a note which literally says, "I have VD," it not only offers a reminder that the thing can't simply be detected by looks alone, but confirms the thematic link between the alien and the AIDS panic of that era. Number 1. The door handles are high up to make the characters look like children. Suspiria 1977. Dario Argento's 1977 horror masterwork Suspiria is filled with unsettling imagery designed to throw audiences off. But beyond its intentionally gaudy production design, neon-soaked cinematography, and that goblin score, Argento insisted upon one specifically bizarre set adjustment. At the Freiburg Dance Academy, the door handles are at eye level rather than waist level, as you'd usually expect, which was due to a major creative change made shortly before production began. Originally, Argento planned for Suspiria to follow a group of girls aged 10 to 12, but the film's financiers naturally got a smidge nervous about seeing young children slaughtered on screen, and so Argento had to reconfigure Suspiria at the last minute to support an older cast, although he attempted to keep as much of the original script's fairy tale sensibilities as possible, including not only keeping the dialogue mostly the same, but also having the door handles at eye level. In Dario Argento's own words, these things help keep an atmosphere of innocence and purity.